Looking for a wool blanket that'll keep you warm in those winter months and even into those shoulder seasons as well. Well, in this video, I'm comparing some of the top brands when it comes to wool blankets, and these are particularly my favorite. From the right, I've got Tierra wool. This is Faribault Mill right here, and Pendleton, and then Filson. And I'm going to be comparing things like the warmth, durability, design, and so much more. So let's get into it. Wool blankets are absolutely fantastic for the winter months, and wool in general tends to regulate temperatures, it wicks moisture, and it's antimicrobial. It's just one of the best parts about owning wool, especially if you're going for a wool jacket as well. Wool just tends to have so many natural benefits, not to mention the fact that it is a natural fiber, making it perfect to have as a blanket. Now, if you're someone who's a little bit more sensitive to wool fabrics, like you don't like the feeling on your skin, well, we're going to talk about which of these might actually be best for you for that reason. Let me move these a little out of the way here so I could speak. And wool is known for being extremely durable as well. I mean, if you pick the right blanket, you could potentially be passing it down for generations. But you still definitely want to clean grandma's old wool blanket that you pulled out of the attic. Let's talk about some of the history of these companies. From the left, Filson. I've talked about Filson in some of my other videos, but they were founded during the Klondike Gold Rush in 1987, primarily to outfit some of the stampeders, the people that were going into Alaska searching for gold, essentially. And since then, they've really become a integral part of American heritage clothing and that whole sort of sector. And they make so many things that are really durable and just keep people warm in general. And also, a lot of their fabrics were actually using Pendleton wool up until recently. And Pendleton's history is also equally fascinating, being that it is still a family-owned company dating back multiple generations, I think all the way back to 1863. And a similar thing could be said about Faribault Mill, which also dates around 160 years back. And you could also search up their factory tour on the Faribault Mill in Minnesota, and it's quite cool to see. And the last one I have here is Tierra wool. Definitely not as old as these companies, but after interacting with them and hearing other people talking about their blankets, I really wanted to make sure that I picked one up. And they've also got a man on a horse on the tag of the blanket, so consider me sold. Full disclosure, I did get these two blankets for free, the Faribault Mill and Tierra wool, but it won't affect my opinion in any way, and they were honestly really happy to send it because they were so confident in their products, and after using it for a few months now, I could really see why. Let's talk about some of the materials and construction of these wool blankets. Obviously, they are wool, but there are some mixtures in here. Starting on the left, this one is the Filson Forestry wool blanket. It is one of their special edition blankets, and it is 100% wool, and it's made in Italy. And famously, Filson has a very dense weave, which you can immediately notice on this blanket. This Pendleton is the Yakima Camp blanket. I've had this for a couple of years now, and this color I believe is the Umber Mineral. It's 86% wool and 14% cotton, so not 100% wool, and it's really known for its durability. And this, of course, is also made in the USA. This is the Faribault Mill blanket with a heather and gray design, and this one is 100% wool, as is the Tierra wool. This is the Buffalo Plaid Shepherd's Lamb wool. It's an organic wool, 100% sourced in New Mexico and made in New Mexico as well. The Tierra wool is actually handmade in America in New Mexico, and it's a certified organic 100% wool. When it comes to softness and comfort, this is where people who are particularly sensitive to wool fabrics may want to pay particular attention, because I'm going to talk about which one is the most scratchy and which is the least. So I would say if you're someone who is really sensitive to that scratchiness, then the Faribault Mill one is probably your best bet. And the reason being is because it has a very tight weave, and it just doesn't really feel like a wool blanket despite how warm it is. And right behind that, second and third, I would say tied almost, is the Tierra wool and the Filson blankets. And that's because they're almost so similar in terms of scratchiness that I don't think that there's really any difference. Again, so this is the best in terms of scratchiness if you're sensitive to that. And then, of course, on the actual worst end of scratchiness is going to be the camp blanket from Pendleton. Now, again, I don't find any of these blankets scratchy, and I've used them all repeatedly without any problems. But when you think traditionally of a wool blanket and how that feels on your skin, I would say that the Faribault Mill cabin blanket doesn't really feel that much like a wool blanket. And for that reason, if you're looking for something that's just the warmth and some of the benefits of wool without the scratchiness, that might be the best option. When it comes to softness, without a doubt, number one in this category is the Tierra wool. This thing is so incredibly soft and comfortable that I think that has to be the absolute top one. For number two, it has to go to the Filson. Number three, I would say the Faribault mill, and number four is the Pendleton when it comes to softness. There's just something about this Tierra wool one that, like, I wish I could just carry it with me to work like every day and honestly just wear it around myself. When it comes to durability, all of these blankets seem extremely durable. I've not put them through any extreme tests, I will say, but for the most part, they all seem like they're going to last for many years. I will say the Filson that does have their lifetime warranty. Filson has such a good warranty like that. It's really impressive, and one of my favorite aspects about Filson has to be their warranty. They will literally fix things if you end up having issues with them. So that's something that I appreciate about that company. But all in all, the durability of all these, I would say, seem on par with each other. If anything, the Pendleton may seem a little bit more durable and probably more suited for outdoor use. And all in all, I use this for camping more than the others. So if we're really talking about indoor use versus outdoor use and that sort of ranking, I would say the Pendleton camp blanket, of course, seems to be the best for outdoor use. Second place would be the Tierra wool. Third would be the Faribault mill, and fourth would be the Filson blanket in terms of indoor versus outdoor use. With number one being the best for outdoor use and the durability necessary to endure that. When it comes to indoor luxury, I would say that the Faribault mill cabin blanket seems to be the most tailored for that, despite it is, like, fun fact here, it was featured in the 1923 Netflix from Taylor Sheridan, so that's something pretty cool about this blanket. All right, so now let's talk about design. And what the heck do I know about design? Well, I like to think I know a thing or two. It doesn't really matter. It's entirely subjective. So this is kind of viewer's discretion. I will say, though, my number one here is definitely the Filson. I love the design of the Filson. It's my favorite. That's why I ended up purchasing it when it came out. It's a special edition release. And number two would be the Pendleton. I love these sort of, like, I don't want to say traditional, but almost like southwestern/western designs. I would say that the cabin blanket is number three for me, and the Buffalo Plaid number four. Although I love Buffalo check blankets, I think they're so nice, especially this one. So design wise, actually it's in the exact order. So what about warmth? Which of these blankets are the warmest? And I tried to get somewhat of the similar sizing for all of them to make sure that when I'm testing for this, they're at least somewhat equally stacked up against each other, but I didn't quite get them exactly the same. But all in all, I did a little non-scientific testing in the outdoors. I looked very crazy. Basically, I just had one single layer on, and it was absolutely freezing at like 15 or 20 degrees in New York. And I was throwing these blankets on just to, like, kind of just try and see which feels the warmest to me as I'm wearing it, and through the months that I've had most of these. And when it comes to warmth, I would say that the Filson felt the warmest to me. I think just how thick and how dense that fabric is has to do with just how warm it is. Number two was the Faribault mill cabin blanket. This has so much coverage, and even though it's much thinner than both of actually all of them, it still had so much coverage and still was very warm. And I think that because it's so dense, really no wind gets through, and that makes it such a warm blanket, with number three being the Pendleton and number four being the Tierra wool. Now this one is the smallest one that I have out of all of them, so that could be why it wasn't the warmest. Actually, that's definitely why it wasn't the warmest, but still, it was an extremely warm blanket, and I probably should have gotten a size larger. And then for fun and to really look crazy through this video, I decided to put all of the blankets on at once, and because it was especially freezing. But all in all, you can't go wrong with any of these brands if you're looking at picking up a wool blanket for those shoulder seasons, or even for the deep winter, as I've been using it here in New York, where it's been like 20 degrees just constant, and 15 degrees as well last week at high upstate. And I also paired it with one of these neat, cool wool blanket holders, this nice leather strap that looks really quite nice. It almost becomes like a decoration on the couch or something as well. But let me know down in the comments which of these brands is your favorite, and did I miss any? Let me know in the comments down below what your favorite wool blanket is. If you're interested in seeing more outdoor gear reviews or heritage clothing reviews or just outdoor adventure videos in general, be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn the notifications on because I have so many videos coming in the near future. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, and I'll see you all out there on the road. Oh, thumbnail.